Hi, travel agents. Thank you all for joining us today. Today, we have a very exciting webinar with Cincinnati. And before we get started, I just want to go over the housekeeping rules. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. We also have a great prize today, a local gift box from Cincinnati with local goods. And with that being said, I would like to introduce our amazing presenter today. Her name is Maija Zummo. She's the Cincinnati Regional Manager. Hi, Maija. Thank you for joining
Hi,
us.
everybody. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm sure the agents are very excited to hear what you have to say, so go right ahead.
Okay, let me share my screen. Mm, There we go. Okay, so as Cindy mentioned, my name is Maija. I am with the Cincy Region, which many of you probably don't know what that means. We're going to start the presentation with a little video to give you kind of a visual of what the city looks like, and then we'll go into more description. So the Cincy region is actually a two-for-one destination. You may have heard of Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincy is actually where Ohio and Kentucky connect. We are where Cincinnati, Ohio meets Northern Kentucky. So as you can see, this bridge in that photo connects the downtown of Cincinnati with the river cities of Northern Kentucky. So we are right where the north and south meet along the Ohio River in America, and we are also the location of CVG Airport, the Cincinnati Airport, which is comically located in Northern Kentucky. All right, so here's a map to kind of give you more of an idea of where we are located. And another one. So we are right where Ohio and Kentucky connect. So how are you going to get here? Big news today. We actually just launched a new Air Canada flight from CVG to Montreal. That is once a day, seasonal. We also have a twice daily flight from Toronto, Pearson Airport on Air Canada. And if you don't want to fly, we are an easy drive from basically anywhere. We are located about an 8-hour drive from Toronto. We are also within a 4-hour drive from other cities like Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Nashville. If you have any client that wants to get to Cincinnati and then use that as a base for a greater road trip, it is a perfect destination for that. But we are also a great place for a little weekend getaway. So, you know how to get here. What are you going to do here? We are right where north meets south, as I have said, which means we are where beer meets bourbon. The northern Kentucky side of the destination is an official gateway to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. That means we have 9 craft distilleries in our region. We also have our own unique bourbon experience called the Beeline. It is a passport guided tour that includes the distilleries, as well as bourbon bars and 10 bourbon centric restaurants. That may seem like a lot of drinking to do. We don't recommend doing it all in one weekend, but there are some very unique bourbon-centric things you can do, including blending and bottling your own bourbon, so you can take home your own special souvenir from here. You can also visit Revival Vintage Spirits, which you can see in this photo. This is one of the only places you can do this in the world. Revival has a collection of over 100-year-old alcohols. I've had something from 1913 there. You can go in and you can buy them by the bottle, or you can try them with the bartenders. They can make you a classic cocktail like an old fashioned and make it with vintage alcohol. Or you can even try a lineup of samples where you have a bourbon from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s lined up, and the bartenders will walk you through the history of that. If you don't like bourbon and you like beer, you're in luck. You cross back over to the Cincinnati side, and we're full of it. We are actually home of America's largest Oktoberfest. 40% of our population was German in the 1800s. So they obviously brought with them beer. And to make lager beer, they had to find spaces that were about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius to ferment it. That meant digging tunnels underground. There's a series of beer lagering tunnels underneath our downtown area that got filled in during Prohibition. We have no idea, there's no map, no idea how many there are. There's miles of them. But when people are renovating our buildings downtown, sometimes they will find a tunnel underneath. And so we have opened these up for guided tours. We have also turned one into a bar called Ghost Baby, which is down at the bottom there. That is a little speakeasy. You take an elevator 4 stories down, listen to some jazz, have some local bourbon, have some local beer. And if going underground like that is not for you, you can also sample a pint at one of our more than 50 modern local breweries. So, tunnels, only in Cincy. What else is only in Cincy? We are home of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. This is right on the banks of the Ohio River on the Cincinnati side of the destination because that step into Ohio was the first part of the journey to freedom for enslaved people from the South. It is a poignant heritage museum. It is also going to be a part of a festival we have coming in October called America's River Roots. That's going to be exploring the history of how the Ohio River shaped the country in advance of America's 250. We will have a ton of riverboat cruises, riverboats from New Orleans, from Tennessee, from Pittsburgh. They're all coming up and they're going to be doing riverboat rides along the Ohio River. We're also going to have a ton of live music and beer and bourbon. Um, Another unique museum we have is the American Sign Museum. This is turning 20 this year. This is the largest public sign museum in America. And you may be familiar with the Neon Graveyard in Las Vegas. This is more about the history of American signage. It covers 100 years from hand-painted signs through to neon, and you can walk through 40,000 square feet, and they have it set up like a vintage Main Street, so you can see where they would have been in their original state. There is also a neon bending workshop on site that repairs the signs when needed, but on Saturdays they give lessons on how to bend your own neon and demonstrations. I mentioned Vegas a second ago. That is because we have a huge connection to Vegas in the northern Kentucky side. Newport, Kentucky was actually the original Las Vegas, the first Sin City. Everyone thinks I'm making that up when I say that, but it is true. It was a huge, huge gambling den. The Flamingo Casino, the Jockey Club, both got their starts in Newport, Kentucky. We are also home to an infamous bootlegger named George Remus. George Remus was the inspiration for Jay Gatsby and The Great Gatsby. So you can take a guided tour with these guys who do in fact dress like this. They will not have Tommy guns with them, but they will take you through the history of Newport, the seedy underbelly. Over the Rhine. As I mentioned, we have a huge German heritage, and over the Rhine, you can connect those dots there. That is where our immigrant population settled. This is actually the largest collection of 19th century Italianate architecture in America and actually anywhere in the world. It is more than a 320-acre National Historic District. That's bigger than the French Quarter or Charleston. This is in a later photo, you'll see some of these beautiful, colorful buildings we have. It's also where our very cool bars and restaurants are, like Ghost Baby. It is a frequent filming location for Hollywood movies as well. Robert De Niro's new movie Alto Nights, which just came out, was filmed in Cincinnati using Over the Rhine as old-fashioned New York for a backdrop. And there is a new movie that just debuted at Cannes called The Mastermind, also using Cincinnati and Over the Rhine as a backdrop for old New York. Something else that looks a little bit like New York is this. This is the Roebling Bridge. It was actually the prototype for the Brooklyn Bridge. It was the longest bridge in the world when it opened in the 1860s, and it connects the Cincinnati, Ohio side with Covington, which is one of the river cities in northern Kentucky. So you can see how close these two sides actually are. I really compare it to sort of Manhattan and Brooklyn when you're thinking about it. More like northern Kentucky is a neighborhood of Cincinnati. So, super walkable. When you're walking around, one of the very cool things that you are going to see is our collection of street art. We have more than 300 murals in our urban core. These are done by local students as well as international artists. You can take guided tours, self-guided tours. We also have a pedal wagon. If you want to combine bourbon and beer with your art, you can do that here. One of the best ways to see this, though, is during our Blink Festival. That happens every other October. So the next iteration is taking place in October 2026. It's free admission. New artists come into town, they paint new murals, and we activate those murals and our collection of historic architecture. In this photo, you can see some of that colorful Italianate. That all gets activated for a very walkable festival. I've got a little video to show you guys. It takes up both sides of the river, and it is the coolest. So the light installations do not stay up year round, but the murals are here all the time. They get added to, they're permanent. We actually have a scribble park where you can go and make your own graffiti mural as well. So you're walking, you're drinking, you're gonna need to eat something. What are you gonna eat? Luckily, we are home to some of the best new restaurants in America. These two down here at the bottom, Aperture on the right-hand side and Wildweed on the left, have been named by multiple national publications as some of the best new restaurants in America. They are both also up for James Beard Awards. So we've got some very cool hip, high-end restaurants you can enjoy. But if you're looking for something hyper local, we do have two unique regional dishes. One of those is Cincinnati style chili. We eat it in something called a three-way or on a coney on a hot dog. The chili is more like bolognese than like a Texas style chili. And the flavoring has some like cinnamon, Mediterranean spices, a little bit of cocoa powder. We serve it over spaghetti and top it with a ton of cheddar cheese. And this is available at more than 200 local chili parlors. We take it very seriously. One of our other unique meats is Geta. This is a pork and oat sausage that our German immigrants invented. If you can see the little guy down in the circle there, that is a log of Geta. He is at our summertime Geta festival. It is 2 weekends long, and each vendor has to have their own special Geta dish. So Geta fudge, Geta mac and cheese, Geta pizza, deep fried Geta. It goes on and on. They also have the world's only Geta vending machine. All right, one of the best places to try Geta and some other local foods is at Findlay Market. As you can see again, this is in the Over the Rhine area with all of that historic architecture. This is Ohio's oldest public market. It was also ranked one of the best in the world by Newsweek. You can explore here on your own. It is open every day except Monday. And as you can see, it's a very popular destination. They also have guided food tours where you can go and learn about the history of the market and try different samples from local vendors. Okay, sports. We got them, a lot of them. We are home to the Cincinnati Reds. This is the first professional baseball team in America, established 1869. The Toronto Blue Jays are actually coming down to play the Reds in Cincinnati in September. We have NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're familiar with Joe Burrow, he's our quarterback, highest paid player in the NFL. We also just this week signed a deal for the NFL Global Markets Program. So we now have marketing in Canada through the Bengals. So you'll probably be seeing a lot more of them. And we have two Canadian players on our team, Chase Brown and Tanner McLaughlin. We also are home to FC Cincinnati Major League Soccer. Has a huge fandom in Cincinnati, and they have a brand new stadium that has won multiple architecture awards. They are playing in Montreal in June, should you wish to go see them if you're in Montreal. Of course, because we are the start of Kentucky, we have horse racing at Turfway Park. We have live horse racing in the off season, when nearby destinations like Lexington do not have horse racing. We are also home to the Cincinnati Open tennis tournament. This is the second oldest and second largest tournament in America. It's an ATP 100 event, so you can get up close and personal with all of your favorite tennis stars for cheaper than like flying to New York to do the US Open. All right. If you don't want to watch sports, you want to do them yourself. We have great, I like to call it like light outdoor adventure, urban adventure. Um, You can rent a red bike, which is our bike share, and pedal along more than 40 miles of urban trail. We actually have America's largest urban trail network in the Cincy region. It goes on both sides of the river. And if you want to explore the river itself, we have kayak kiosks, is what they're called. There's one on the northern Kentucky side where you can go and rent a kayak and go down a tributary of the Ohio called the Licking River. They also have kayak kiosks at a lot of our public parks. If you want to hike, there's a couple cool places to do that. If you go about half an hour north, we are home to a UNESCO World Heritage Site called Fort Ancient. It is a series of Native American earthworks. It's got a museum there. Another historical spot to check out is Big Bone Lick State Park. This is a Kentucky state park and also just got named a National Historic Landmark. You can go camping here. They have their own like archaeology, paleontology museum, and they've got a herd of bison that you can go interact with behind a fence. All right, so where are you going to stay when you're here? We just had two new hotels open. One on the Northern Kentucky side, a Homewood Suites, and that is attached to one of our music venues. And we have a new one, a new Moxie on the Cincinnati side. Both have rooftop bars, very cool. Um, we are also lucky enough to have the #1 hotel in Ohio and the #1 hotel in Kentucky in Cincinnati because we are both of those states in one. This top photo is a picture of the #1 hotel in Ohio called the Lytle Park Hotel. As you can see from this rooftop, you can look right into the Cincinnati Red Stadium. It's right on the river. We also have down in the corner the #1 hotel in Kentucky that is called Hotel Covington. It was a former department store that they turned into a boutique hotel. And in that turret on the corner is actually where that Revival Vintage Spirits experience is. So you don't have far to walk to your hotel room should you go indulge there. We also have some other unique stays, tree houses, an old pickle factory, 21C Museum Hotel, which is a chain in America of like boutique hotels that also have contemporary art on a changing basis. Ours also just happens to be connected to our contemporary art center. So you get a big dose of art right in the downtown area. All right, so I've mentioned it's super walkable. I also always like to say this. If you don't want to walk, you don't have to. And if you don't want to use a car, you don't have to. We do have a free streetcar, and this runs on a loop from that Finley Market area down to all the stadiums on the riverfront. And if you don't feel like walking across the bridge into northern Kentucky, you also don't have to because we have a South Bank shuttle that will take you across for a super cheap ride for $1. So it's a super walkable 2-for-1 destination with some beautiful architecture, some unique cuisine, super unexpected, and really, honestly, just one of my favorite places, which is good because I represent it. So thank you so much for your time. If I can figure out how to stop sharing that, I will. Cindy, can I throw it back to you? Toss it back to you?
Yes. Thank you for that amazing presentation. I definitely learned a lot myself, and it seems like a very fun city to visit. Love the
Yes.
or affordable transportation and the free TDC, so that's great. All right, agents, if you have any questions, please drop in the Q&A box and we'll answer them. So I do have a question. What would you say are your top must-do experience in Cincinnati?
Okay, so I think one of our must-do things probably is just based on how great our sports teams are, I'm actually going to say tailgating. Tailgating in the Cincy region is kind of an iconic thing you have to do. The Cincinnati Red Stadium and the Cincinnati Bengal Stadium are both located on one side of this entertainment district right along the river. And so each game day, all the fans come out and they all hang out. It's a tailgate area, so you can have an open container. All the bars are streaming the game, so if you can't even get a ticket to go in, you can still take part in all the sporty fun that we have.
That's amazing. Love sports. Okay, another question is, I know you said it's very walkable there, so would you say no car rental is really needed when you want to travel around
Yeah,
Cincinnati?
I would say no car. Any of the hotels, so it's about a 15-minute Uber ride from the airport into the downtown Cincinnati area. Shorter if you're going into northern Kentucky for your hotel. And if you don't want to have a car, you do not need one. You can walk everywhere. All of our main cool restaurants, all of that stuff is right in that walkable core. So you can get everywhere. And if you did want to rent a car to maybe take a road trip, as you can see from that map, it's really easy to get down to like Lexington or Louisville to explore more of that like Southern Bourbon Trail experience. We're also a 4 hour drive from Cleveland, should you want to go do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and combine that with kind of like our rock and roll history here too. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta add Cincinnati to my places to visit now.
yes, you're welcome. Everyone's welcome. Please come hang out with me.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Well, it looks like you did a great job because no agents have questions. So, do you have any last minute words you want to say to the agents on why their clients should book a visit to Cincinnati?
I think for me, affordability is great. We have, like mentioned before, some of those best new restaurants in America, some of the best sports teams in America for cheaper than what you're going to find at maybe like Chicago or New York. So super, super affordable. Our hotels do not have resort fees, which also makes it much more affordable. And I think the easy access, it's a real hidden gem that people don't know about. So number one, you look cool, right? On your Instagram. You look cool being like the pioneer going out there. But really with those new flights, the new Montreal flight, the Toronto flight, super, super easy to get to. And again, if you don't want to fly, 8 hour drive from Toronto.
Awesome, that's amazing. All right, I want to say thank you, Maya, for the presentation again.
Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, thank you to the agents for joining us today. And for the giveaway winner, it will be chosen offline and notified by email. And give me one second. Someone asked, please forward Maya's contact info to me. Don't worry, I'll forward you that.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everybody, and I'll see you at the next Travel Week webinar. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.